It is I once again, man. It's Fari. And obviously you can notice today that we're doing things a little differently because I thought, why not have this conversation outside, you know? To be fair, it is a monologue, but nonetheless it is a conversation because you will interact with me on the comment section below, right? I ironically had a lot of thoughts, but I'm trying to keep this episode a little bit shorter than usual, you know, because we are doing things a little bit different from the usual anyway, right? I had this topic that I wanted to expand on, or rather converse about, you know, have a conversation about, and it is how humanizing the human experience is, you know, because I was doing a lot of thinking, especially yesterday. I was really doing a lot of thinking about a lot, and to be fair, I haven't concluded my thoughts, you know, but I'm still thinking about it, which is, I think, the coolest thing ever, because we can talk about it here, you know. Because I was just asking myself, like, why is it that, because at some point we once had, in South Africa anyway, I think 2014, 2015, 2016, we once had protests, you know, free education protests, or rather we were protesting for free education, especially tertiary education. And yesterday I was thinking, like, why is it not free, bro? And I think I finally figured it out, because our society in general, it thrives off social classes, right? There's the middle class, in fact there's the lower class, there's the middle class, and there's the higher or upper class. And if you notice, like, even ourselves, we divide ourselves amongst these social classes. But why is it that education is not free? It is so that these classes can continue, because if you actually think about it, what is it that actually separates these income classes or these societal classes? It is income, you know, and obviously your income is determined hugely by your level of education, right? So if we all had free access to tertiary education, that means we'd all have a much more equal playing field, or much more equal opportunities when it comes to incomes, when it comes to workings, right? So that would dismantle these classes that we use to divide society. And obviously, should that happen, that means these agendas then don't have a space in which they can thrive, right? Because if you really think about it, the world which we live in this world that we live in, rather, we are governed by, I'm looking for proper, mosquitoes, bro. I'm looking for a proper adjective, but really we are governed by, I almost said immoral people, but to be fair, it is true, but that's not the word I'm looking for. But there's mischievous agendas. We are governed by mischievous people to achieve mischievous agendas. You know what do I mean by that? By design, the world in which we live in is supposed to be divided, right? Because there was once a saying, divide and conquer, right? If you divide the people, then these agendas can be achieved, or rather they conquer. Because why? We are so divided amongst ourselves that we can't unite against a common goal, right? Because that's the reason why there's this much of a divide, or this big gap between the poor and the wealthy. Is because, number one, our realities are completely different, and by virtue of our realities being different, we are not fighting for the same things, right? The other social classes fighting just for the bare minimum, just to survive, really. And the other social class is fighting to make sure that this gap widens, or at least it doesn't close, right? Because if this gap widens, then that means there's no divide between the wealthy and the poor. It's just one social class, it's just one thing. But obviously that cannot happen, and like we can't have this society that we live in today function the way it is but also have no social classes. You can't have both at the same time, right? And it is very in dark, like it is very, I'm looking for an adjective, man, but ingcolile, it's mean. Yeah, ingcolile, that's what I'm trying to say, like ingcolile. It is very, it's twisted. It's very twisted. But then again, like I said, man, we're governed by mischievous people to achieve mischievous agendas, you know. And I think the saddest thing about this whole thing is that we are so divided amongst ourselves that we can't sit and actually realize that actually for this world as we know it to be dismantled all the way to the ground, and for us to be able to build a new world in which we want, or in which we want to govern ourselves, decide what is good for ourselves, by ourselves, we'd have to dismantle these social classes. Because there's gonna be a lot of that, man, because we're outside, you know. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that for as long as we are still divided in whatever, like, because we're divided in many ways than one, right? So in whatever ways that we are divided, for as long as we remain divided, then the society will thrive, and it will continue to thrive, you know. And the saddest thing is that we are so consumed by making ends meet, we're so consumed by making sure that we earn an income, we're so consumed by making sure that at least we sleep with food in our stomachs, that we don't really have the time to actually sit and think, like, why is the world like this in the first place? Like, why is, you know? And the people that know why it is, they realized a long time ago that it is in their best interest to keep it like this, you know. And as I'm talking, I sound more stupid, or at least I feel a bit more stupid the more I talk, because I'm realizing, like, not a lot of people think as deep as I am thinking. So to the vast majority of people, what I'm saying is very, it sounds stupid, or it sounds very far-fetched, to say the least, you know. It sounds far-fetched. Sum everything up, I had an idea. I wanted to create a youth unemployment party. So this is why I'm calling on to you to support the boy, because what the youth unemployment party seeks to achieve, or seeks on focusing on, it is addressing the social ills and closing this gap between the unemployed and the employed. And how do I aim by doing that? First things first. First things first is to get a microphone. But I'm joking. First things first obviously would be to create a fast-moving, not a fast-moving, but to create a train service that goes through the 9 provinces, right? is it 11? It's 9 provinces, sorry. So from Eastern Cape, or Port Elizabeth rather, to Cape Town, from Cape Town to Johannesburg, from Johannesburg to Durban, you know, all those places, because I feel like if we are able to move between the provinces with that much rapid speed and pace, then that means we can also exchange skills, services, products in that short amount of time, or in that rapid amount of speed, you know. And also I would, because I don't think the country has a problem with generating revenue, but I think we have a mismanagement of the revenue problem, or at least we have a corruption problem. So what the Youth Unemployment Party seeks to do is we govern ourselves. So it's basically like a government for the people, by the people. So we determine where the income goes, right? And obviously we would tighten the way in which the income is generated. So that means we don't leave any money on the table, any money that could better the country and society as a whole anyway, right? We don't leave it on the table. We literally get every rand we can, and we make it benefit, and we use it to the benefit of us. We maximize the benefit of every rand. Before I continue, man, I just want to say, like, I don't want English to be the measure of my intelligence, because obviously I'm a black man, don't cross. So if that is a measure of my intelligence, that would be very stupid, because that would mean we must take the white man and make him speak our language to determine how smart or how dumb they are, which obviously is not necessarily the best measure of intelligence. But nonetheless, now that we got that out the way, I think it would be in our best interests as the society to govern ourselves, because one thing I have noticed is that, number one, politicians are puppets, because there's billionaires that determine what the politicians do, you know. They are puppets, and they are used to puppeteered to ensure that these agendas thrive and they succeed. They're just the face, right? They're just the face, but they don't run the show. Even our president is not the person running the show, right? So what my party would seek to do is to break that divide, or dismantle that divide between the billionaires, the politicians, and us. There wouldn't be a divide. In fact, we also wouldn't be politicians, we would be revolutionaries, because we're seeking to revolutionize the country, the society as a whole, you know. And yeah, man, all in all, what I'm trying to achieve with this whole thing is to get to a point where Africa as a whole, it is one United States. So we have a United States of Africa, ran and governed by one president, and then each state or each country would have its own prime minister, so to speak. But no country is an independent state. We're all united, right? Obviously, it would start on the basis of which state is willing, you know, and then eventually, as time goes, we would sort of make it law, you know, because we would obviously amend the legislation and come up with a legislation that is more enforcive of the united, or the uniting of the states rather, right? And I know it is much easier said than done. So is anything and everything, really. But I think it being put to practical use would be beneficial, not just for us as a country, but for the continent at large, and also for the world as a whole, you know. Because if Africa is united, then that means we have a larger population and a larger market for products, services, just everything in general, you know what I mean? And I think in the coming years, a United States of Africa would be be the superpower of the world instead of us having the United States be the superpower of the world, or you know what I mean? But obviously, divide and conquer. They first divided Africa, not even based on our languages or whatever, but they colonized the country, the continent, right? They colonized the countries, so the countries were divided in those different colonies, right? And it is very stupid that us today, like society today, is still hell-bent on maintaining those divides as if we don't know why we were divided in the first place. Like, that is it's very stupid if you ask me, you know. And it's just a thought that I had. Obviously, I'm still going to do my research and expand on the thought that I had, but I would like for people to collaborate and people to interact so that this is more interactive. And I know that I'm onto something, but just interact with me on the comments down below so that I, number one, at least have or find comfort in knowing that I'm not the only one that thinks like this. And number two, at least that I know that I would be supported when I try to at least establish this party, right? It's the Youth Unemployment Party. Yep, that's the acronym. It's YEP. So would you vote for me? Yep. Why? It's the Youth Unemployment Party. That's very stupid and childish, but come on. The more playful you are, the more you get to enjoy whatever it is you're doing. So obviously we're gonna approach it with more seriousness, but obviously we are the youth, right? So to appeal to the youth, you have to be a bit more useful, and that's what I'm doing. But like I said, man, today's episode is very different because I just woke up with a very different thought and just different approach to things, you know. Who would you like to run the United States of Africa if we were, or if when we do achieve the goal of uniting Africa? Who would you like to run? Because I have 3 contenders really. Advocate Duma Boko, that is the president of Botswana, and we have Ibrahima Traore, that is the president of Burkina Faso, and we have Asamahle Bodwana, that is me. Of course I wouldn't like to, but obviously I can't just propose this idea and also not throw myself in the mix. But more than anything, I think I would much rather be the Minister of Finance, you know, because I think when it comes to finance, I have a lot more ideas as opposed to when it comes to running the country. In fact, it would be a united country, you know, but I think I can do more with being in charge of the budget rather than being in charge of the day-to-day running activities of the United States of Africa. I think I would excel in the finance department. But yeah, man, because I'm better with numbers, you know, much better with numbers. Like, yeah, I'm good with language, but numbers, much better with numbers. So yes, man, it's just a thought, you know. I think we're gonna cut it there because I'm battling mosquitoes, man. Literally I am.